Good afternoon, folks, and welcome back to another episode of South of Cheddar Curtain. As always, it's your boy, Devin Hine, sitting across the Microsoft Teams screen from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lucas Mueller. Want to start the folks, Luke?
Hello, folks.
Well, we're talking about football in February. Not in the way that we would like to be.
Nope.
If we've somehow forgotten, our Green Bay Packers had the ultimate 2026 Green Bay Packers experience in the playoffs, falling 27-31 in Chicago against that team that we love to hate so much.
Correct. Reminder to everybody that this is called South of the Cheddar Curtain because we live south of the Cheddar Curtain, which made for a not very fun couple weeks here in the greater Chicagoland area. So, yeah, that sucked. And it was a microcosm of all of our problems throughout the year. It just hit us in one game.
It wasn't a fun week, but very quickly I pivoted to, guys, you can talk. But if you actually think that you are better than us, then you don't know ball. And if you don't know ball, I'm assuming you don't remember that Devontae Adams is coming to your house next week. So enjoy your little happy vibes. You got it. You'll be sitting on the couch next week too. And oh, look what happened, Bear fans. So settle down.
And Devontae made a clutch play in that game too, down the stretch. We knew our boy would, right?
He was interviewed by Kay Adams, and they asked him how do you feel about playing them after they beat the Packers, and he was like, yeah, I still remember, I'm a Packer, I'm gonna go do this for our boys, absolutely, and he did. Devontae's just cold, man.
Which is wild for a guy who hasn't been on the Packers in 4 or 5 years or whatever it is at this point, but he's our guy. I'm always going to love Devontae Adams. I'm really happy for him. I'm not sure if I was happy or bummed technically when they lost to the Seahawks, but could not have been rooting for him more against the Bears.
I think that when Devontae goes to the Hall, it'll be as a Packer. They sure as hell are not going to remember him for a Raider or a Jet.
No.
He's been good on the Rams, but definitely not our Devontae on the Rams.
Correct.
So he's going in as a Packer for sure.
100%. 100%.
Do we want to say anything about this game?
Man, it was no, because we've talked about it twice already, right? The game was exactly like the first two. I had a friend or a coworker text me at halftime, hey, at least you get a relaxing second half.
Lies.
And
Lies.
I immediately texted back I do not feel good about this. We missed the field goal going into halftime. I'm like, this is classic Packers downfall right here. It's something small happens when you're winning by a bunch, and then you just slowly watch it erode away in front of your eyes, which is exactly what happened, and that's pretty much where I want to leave it.
All right. So to changes in the coaching staff, as predicted, our beloved defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, love that man. We all love that man.
100%.
Jeff Hafley has now gone to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, so shout out for him. We knew it was coming. Micah was like, he's not going anywhere. He's going back. And Micah tried, but Micah was unable to convince our once great DC. Yeah.
And LaFleur knew because he was already he's going to interview great. He's going to get a job. But before that, right, we lost someone in the front office. John Eric Sullivan. I think his name's John Eric Sullivan.
Who went to Miami, of course.
Who went to Miami and brought Hafley with him, and then Hafley's bringing half the coaching staff with him as well.
They're basically the Miami Southern Packers at this point.
Correct. And as we'll talk about, because we're going to talk about upcoming free agents a little bit, there's one for sure I want to end up in Miami along with them. But we'll leave that as a little tease. We'll get there. But even when you watch Hafley at the mic when he was getting introduced as the Dolphins head coach, he showed so much love for the Packers and Matt LaFleur and talked a lot about the team and the guys and stuff, which is really cool to see. And it reminded me of his introductory press conference with us, which was pretty much, I think, when both of us immediately realized, this dude's a rental, right? You hear him talk in front of a microphone, you're like, this guy's going to be the greatest interview. He has to be. He has so much presence and a command about him. It seems like he really gets along with the players as well, but he's tough. You knew he was just going to be a rental if our defense did anything at all. And he was still a hot commodity even after our giant collapse in the playoffs and at the end of the regular season. I think a lot of that you can just explain with the lack of Micah and others.
Jonathan Ford playing.
Jonathan Ford play.
Wearing 64. 64 Jonathan Ford hits different, not in a good way.
No. Former Packer, former Bear, then Packer again.
Soon to be former Packer again.
Correct. He can go back to the Bears. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
And he had to play legitimate snaps. Not good. Not good at all. But you just knew he was going to be a rental and the kind of coach that's going to be highly coveted. And I look forward to what he can do in Miami after Mike McDaniel got ousted semi-unfairly, I think. But it should be a good change of culture for him.
Yeah, I think he's going to do great. Like you said, that first introductory press conference, I think we were all sold. That dude could have been selling infomercials.
And I'm in, man.
He would put Billy Mays to shame. Absolutely. Just the leadership, the presence, like you said. I would have ran through a brick wall through him, and it was obvious that a lot of guys on the defense felt the same way. I think that him and Sullivan in Miami are going to help that team turn around.
I completely agree, and I look forward to seeing it. I guess we should probably touch on the even bigger thing. LaFleur coming back, which I don't know how much of a question there actually was for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, fandom was pretty up in arms about it. Kind of what were your thoughts on all that discourse?
I kind of on both sides of the fence, because part of me was like, I'm really sick of this bullshit. Like, is it that every single player on this team is unclutch or like that folds in big moments, right? That feels it's probably not the case. But at the same time, you saw how everyone in that locker room went to bat for Matt LaFleur because it was like big national headlines thinking that he was going to get fired. And you had way more guys show up for that locker room clean out than like ever. According to the guys in the Packer media, especially guys that are injured don't show up. And two of the best players on this team, Micah Parsons and, of course, Devontae Wyatt, because that's what he does. He shows up. They showed up, and they both said very nice things about Matt.
Yeah, I think Micah was like, he texted Matt. I think he said he texted Matt like, hey, you're one of the big reasons I wanted to come here is to play for you. Says a lot.
Exactly. So I think, like, all in all, in conclusion, where I ended up was just like, we have a window, and I'm not sure how much it closes after this year, but it is definitely going to be the most open this year than it is for the next 5, 10 maybe.
Yeah.
If you bring in a new head coach, who? Like the first big name was Harbaugh, which, you know what John Harbaugh and his Ravens did all season, Lucas?
They crumbled.
Blow horrible leads. It was like, it'd be LaFleur 2.0. Like if you're saying move on from him, okay, that's who you get. And then anybody else, I feel like would automatically be a downgrade. Not even saying that Harbaugh would be at the level that LaFleur was this year, right? Because you have new scheme, new coaches, new schematics, like
all new offense.
All of that takes time and patience. And in a season that's got this much pressure on it, I just don't think that would have been a good move. So although I'm increasingly frustrated every time we see it, we start watching Titanic and we think we're not going to hit the iceberg or there's going to be enough lifeboats. And it's just not the case.
There never is.
It's the same outcome every time.
Yeah, I
think it was the right move to bring him back is what I was getting to.
Yeah, no, I think overall I'm going to agree with you. Did part of me want him after that loss just be like, all right, screw it, fire everybody at this point? Yes, absolutely. But I think cooler heads prevailed. It wasn't a great. It certainly did start great from a coaching free agent class, right? It was Harbaugh, and that was kind of it, right? Not even a ton of up and comers. Like everyone knew, as much as I hate to say it, everyone knew that Ben Johnson was like the guy, right? He was the candidate for 2 years in a row, and he turned everybody down the first year, and they came out the second year. Right, where that was hit or miss. You don't know how good he was going to be as a head coach, but that was the guy. There was a clear-cut person. New, young, hot hire. We didn't really have that this coaching cycle. And a lot of people that got jobs, I don't really know why they got jobs necessarily. A lot of weird stuff going on. A lot of people got fired late. You weren't going to get Tomlin, obviously, because he resigned. You'd have to trade for him. One of the other hot commodities was Mike McCarthy. like we're not going to do that, right? I don't want to bring
No,
in a
thank
guy.
you.
I'm with you. I don't want to bring in a guy at this point in the trajectory of the team and risk him just have no clue what he's doing, right? We needed some stability to walk through the door, and didn't seem like there was a good mix of that and new energy, new ideas, right? If Matt got fired, he was, I think, immediately the number one coach available, right?
Easily.
So then what exactly, then what are you doing? You're kind of guaranteeing a downgrade, at least short term, right? And we don't really have time to waste at this point with the Micah move. And now, look, the future's not super bleak. Like, we can course correct and kind of do a soft reboot instead of a rebuild in a couple of years, similar to how we did kind of Jordan Love's first year, right?
Reload, I believe the term
Reload,
is, Mr.
thank
Hunter.
you. Yes, reload. We could do a reload, not a rebuild. We can do that again in a couple of years, but we don't need a year of kind of finding our feet. Like you said, the Super Bowl window was this last year, this year, and like next year, I think, if I remember the contracts right. It's kind of these 3 years are the time we have the most probability, right, before things start having to change a little bit going forward from a cap space and everything. So, yeah, I'm good with keeping him. I wanted to see, because I think we have our answer on some of this stuff, more change. Like, bring him back and then say, you need a new OC, right? It can't be Stenovich. I love Stenovich as a line coach. I don't know how good he is as an offensive coordinator, but he seems to be lacking, as silly as it sounds given how bad of a coach he was everywhere else, Nathaniel Hackett. Like, Nathaniel Hackett, he had something, though, right? He could, when he was part of the staff, our offense was elite, especially in the red zone, right? As soon as he left, our red zone offense went to crap. So he had something that he could bring to the table to kind of help LaFleur out a little bit. Where I don't know if Steno has that. Contribute, right? I don't know if Steno has that besides, being a yes man, or is he still spending a ton of time in the offensive line room? We don't know, but we haven't gotten better since he became an offensive coordinator, right? And obviously Rich Bisaccia, like at some point, he's just got to fall on the sword for the special teams, which is a bigger problem than just Rich Bisaccia, right? There's personnel issues that go along with it, but at some point, like, some of this has to be on him, the fact that we had Josh Jacobs returning kicks in the playoffs.
That was insane.
There's no way he's returned a kick since high school. He was too important at Alabama. I didn't look it up, but I guarantee he didn't return a kick at Alabama. Plus, he's not that kind of guy. He never has been. He's not speedy.
No, he is not shifty. That's not his game.
So the fact that, like, we were pulling that out because we have no idea what to do at the returner spots, like, what are we doing? That falls on the special teams coordinator. At least not have plans, it felt like. So I wanted to see change in those two spots. It appears we're not going to get that. We're just going to get a whole new defensive coaching staff. We'll see. But I think keeping Matt was the right move. I think just the black and white version of it is if you let go of the coach that becomes the hottest, the best coaching option on the coaching carousel, odds are you're just going to get worse, right? People brought up maybe, is this Andy Reid in Philadelphia? Is that where we're at with him, right? Where the coach needs a change of scenery, then all of a sudden kind of blossoms and takes that next step to go from good to great, or however you want to say it. But that's a really hard trigger to pull, my man. So I'm glad we're keeping him overall.
Like we said about Stenovich, like he doesn't, to our knowledge, right? We're not in these meetings. We don't know the game plan, but it doesn't feel like he adds anything. He just feels like he's a yes man. And it was kind of funny, like clip art when he was like, "Oh yeah, Golden won't be a future receiver." That was the only good thing in the Bear game is that Matthew Golden, I think he made multiple people.
He made so many people miss in a phone booth. He heard me.
Like one of the absolute best highlights of the entire season, which I feel like we can't enjoy because of what happened in that game, but it still happened.
That should have been the game-winning touchdown, essentially, right? Given what had happened.
We're moving on. We're moving on.
But yes, we finally saw a flash from Golden, and it was glorious.
Lightning struck.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah, Rick Bisaccia, we're not friends. We're not friends. What do you do? Aren't you like the third highest paid special teams coordinator in the league? And what do? Now, granted, you can't blame him for McManus getting hurt, but there was just still a lot of penalties, a lot of miscues, poor snaps.
Well, and how we handled the
too many
McManus
things.
stuff, we trotted him out when we knew he was still hurt.
And we had a substitute teacher.
We did.
We had a Lucas.
We did. We need more of them, apparently. Who, faltered and stuff, but, everyone could see that McManus wasn't right, apparently. We tried him out there, and he sucks. You can't do that. His kicking leg is hurt. You can't have a kicker whose kicking leg hurts.
And I don't think that kicking in a game makes your leg feel better. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a nurse. So I don't know anything. But
no,
I don't think that's probably...
We made all of the wrong decisions. And I get, even with some of the returner stuff, Bo Melton and Savion, we didn't have those options, right? Nick Neiman was out, and, Zane Anderson was out. So we were missing the only people that are good at special teams on our entire team besides our punter. We're all injured. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it just felt like we were just throwing random crap at the wall, and none of it was sticking. Terrible.
So speaking of some random crap, Jonathan Gannon, new DC. What do you think?
Man, the way you've been texting me about Jonathan Gannon, that is, I don't know if that's the intro I expected for him. Okay, I'm just going to be completely honest. I'm going to get my kind of homerism out of the way here and just put it on the table. Okay? So, I'm not from Wisconsin, obviously. But I do have land in Wisconsin, right? We've talked about this before. And that land is in northern Wisconsin, middle of absolute nowhere, right? And half an hour from there, 45 minutes, is a town called Troy. That town is 400 people or something. And we drive through it to get to one of the larger towns in the area. I think it's where the closest Walmart is. And is 45 minutes away. You have to drive through this town. This tiny little town. Yes.
Is it right next to East Troy, or are they completely separate?
No, completely separate.
Never mind.
Yeah, that would make too much sense. So you're driving there, right? And you go through this town that has billboards up when you enter the town because that is the home of Jim Leonhard, right?
Yep.
And they got pictures of him up and everything. They're so proud of him, which is awesome. So Jim Leonhard isn't just a Wisconsin guy, right? There's a lot of guys from Wisconsin going to do stuff from Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee, Madison, whatever, right? This dude is from absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And he's on was on the Broncos coaching staff, right? Pass game coordinator, assistant head coach. I really wanted us to at least take a crack at Jim Leonhard. I understand he turned us down 4 years ago when we hired Joe Barry is kind of the rumor, right? So we had a shot at him. He turned it down to go back to Wisconsin because he thought he was guaranteed the head coaching job there. Didn't happen. I wanted to take a crack at him because my homerism was getting the better of me, at least with that. I wanted to at least interview him and go from there.
It's not just you, though. Everyone
It was everybody. It was
Jim
everybody.
Leonhard.
I know everybody wanted Jim Leonhard. So that was a tough pill to swallow. Jonathan Gannon, I'm trying to remember him as a coordinator, not a head coach, because his head coaching arc was not great, right? He got fined for hitting a player. We're just going to start with the bad. Got fined for hitting a player last year.
Was that after DiMarcado fumbled, though, on the 1 yard line?
It was, yes.
I mean, hitting him in the face, he I thought it was the chest. I thought it was a hit.
No, it wasn't in the face.
Yeah, so it was just wake the fuck up, which I understand feeling that because that was an incredible run by a fourth string running back who's getting an opportunity through injuries, and that's what he does. Come on.
I agree with you, but you still can't do it, right?
Fair.
You can't do it.
Fair. And
you risk losing the team by doing so.
I think the team actually probably fully supported it, but continue.
Maybe. His press conferences are not great.
Oh,
he's definitely not halfly. He's the opposite. They're rough. The hard knock stuff was rough, right? He is not an inspiring leader from the outside.
And if I may, folks, this isn't just that Luke and I did deep dives. This is if you're just on a Reddit, an NFL whatever page or cringe, they were showing clips of Jonathan Gannon. Like, it's not just that we're zeroing in on. Like, this was information that we had just as being football fans. And it's the Arizona Cardinals who do nothing. So it was that cringy.
It was rough. So that's the negative, right? So like that's all the stuff that I remember top of head of him. But I'm trying to think of this like, okay, failed head coach, good DC apparently, that failed as a head coach, now back as a DC. Sounds similar to like Raheem Morris, right? There's a lot of them. Vic Fangio. There's a lot of DCs that failed as head coaches and settled in long term as very good DCs, right?
Yes.
Is that just where we're at with Jonathan Gannon? Hopefully, right? So he's the DC. His kind of claim to fame was he was the DC for the Eagles in what, like 21 and 22, I think, whatever it was.
Yes.
Those were really good defenses. Those were very good defenses. Probably not quite as good as they are currently under Vic Fangio, but they have just absolutely stockpiled freaks on the defensive side of the ball. So it's a different defense that I'm curious what he's going to do. Because it's a different defense than Hafley played. Its similarities, from my understanding of it, don't align with what I like from a defensive scheme a ton. But he has come out and said he bases it off the players. He doesn't necessarily bring in a hard scheme initially off the bat, which I appreciate. My overall thoughts were, I think I was whelmed. You know, there were some other up-and-comers that I was curious about. Christian Parker, who went to the Cowboys. Obviously, Jim Leonard. Those both, and there's a couple others, but those guys were both like, can you catch the next guy on the way up, right? In a Hafley-like situation. And both, if they're successful, both those guys will probably be head coaches in a couple years. Gannon probably won't be, right? It's probably going to take some time for him to get another shot, given how Arizona went. But I understand where we would potentially want to bring in somebody a little bit more stable. He's going to come in. He's not going to be terrible, right? I'm confident that he has a decent floor. I'm unsure what the ceiling is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I have to share, for the first time ever on our show, breaking news. Speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, they have a new head coach.
Oh.
And why do you think I'm bringing it up? Because it's someone who's significant.
Head coach for the Cardinals. I have no idea.
We've talked about his brother on the show.
We've talked about his brother. Oh, my God. Oh. His brother. Who are brothers? Former player or not?
No. Also, though, I just have to say, with your little Jim Leonard biography, can't forget that he was a safety at Wisconsin and then played in the Jets and was a real dude in the league for 10 years.
Yeah, a legitimate player at the safety position. Yeah.
Yep.
Like a real starter.
Above average starter, I would say, for most of his career.
So he was also a big inspiration for a bunch of kids growing up, you know.
Absolutely.
His brother. Whose brother?
Mike LaFleur.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's big.
Wow.
Packers head coach Matt LaFleur's brother is now the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow, good for him. He'd been interviewing with a lot of people. Interesting. Well, hopefully he has a plan at quarterback because they need help.
Yeah, good luck there. All right, so with Gannon.
What are your thoughts? You were hitting me with all sorts of texts after Gannon got hired.
So when I said random piece of crap, it was like random transition and piece of crap just because there were sexier names out there that I would have liked more. But I agree with you. His floor is probably, high, right? I don't think it's going to be terrible. From what I read, he does, unfortunately, do a lot of what our boys have done, keep things underneath.
Which just annoys me, yeah.
A lot of cover four. But in Arizona, he would do a lot of different multiple fronts, right? He had these guys that were kind of like hybrid edge rusher, good in pass coverage, guys like Minter, Zaven Collins. He had Budda Baker that he would move all over the field. So he can get creative with the guys that he has. When it comes to his scheme, like I said, it's a lot of the cover four, chill back in coverage. So we'll see. Not the name I would have wanted. I mean, Jim Leonard, obviously. And then I don't know how good he would have been, but like Al Harris, hello? I would have done it for the name power alone. The name power
I know
alone.
you would have. I know you would have.
So we'll see about Gannon. I'll be interested to see how he moves people around. Like with what he did with Buda Baker, could he do that with X? Will he be able to put Evan in good spots to defend the run? And what he does at the linebacker position, and then what that like changes for us, right? Because
That's the big thing, I think.
like Isaiah McDuffie feels like he may not be back then.
Are we going
need
back to a 3-4?
Yeah, but they do a lot of like multiple fronts. So you could still do like, you could still have like Devontae Wyatt. Let's say Devontae Wyatt, Colby Wooden, Carl Brooks, and then you have like Nessie and Micah on the edge with 2 linebackers. So Cooper and maybe Quay, but then you want them to have more lateral. You want them to have more lateral movement. So McDuffie is, it's not exactly his cup of tea. He likes to go downhill.
Yeah, and I think what really kind of throws a wrench in a lot of this, and I love what you're saying about Arizona because I think that could be very interesting in our case from a schematic standpoint. But he didn't call plays in Arizona, which is also really interesting because normally any kind of coordinator, when they become head coach, they just kind of take that side of the ball, right? Matt LaFleur on offense. Jeff Hafley's going to call the defense in Miami. Gannon didn't call the defense play in, play out, right? He wasn't calling plays. So he ran the scheme, but I don't know how much of Arizona's defensive, both positive and negative, to put on him from like a game-to-game standpoint. You know what I mean? Because, was his DC, was he any good, right? Was he calling bad plays, whatever? Obviously, we know they didn't have a ton of talent. They had Josh Sweat was pretty much the only good pass rusher, if I remember right. They had Buda Baker, who's kind of on the back end a little bit. Yeah. And he's not even old, I don't think. He's one of those players where, kind of like Tyrann Mathieu, where they have a short peak, right? They're awesome, and then by 30, they're done.
They're both
kind of where he is.
They're both like 5'8" and 175 pounds.
Bob Sanders being the true archetype of this, yeah.
They're like kamikaze pilots. Like they just throw their bodies in, don't give a shit. We'll do whatever they have to do for the cause. And when they're on your team and they're healthy, you love them. They're phenomenal. Derwin James too. But then they play safety and they're small, and then they only last.
Well, Derwin James is giant, but has the same play style. I see what you're saying.
Who?
Derwin James is huge, but I see what you're saying.
I thought he was smaller.
No, he's big.
Okay.
Dude's
I'm missing another hybrid safety that I like. Is he really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
That was like his thing. He's like damn near a linebacker. Anyways,
Jesus.
but he plays very physically, much like those guys do, and fly around, and you use them in multiple ways, which works great, but those undersized guys don't last forever like that. No. That's kind of where Buda Baker is. So, yeah, they didn't have great players. Gannon didn't call the defense. So there's a little bit more unknown than I initially anticipated once I kind of dove in a little bit on him. But we'll see. I think the big question is how does the potential, because we don't even know if it's going to happen, of potentially going back to a 3-4 base, which we wouldn't even be in base a ton, but how does that affect personnel decisions down the line, right? Or position archetypes that we're looking at? Don't know. We're going to find out.
It'd be big, but part of talking about how it affects, who we have on the team, positional flexibility like we're talking about, big part of that's going to be this free agent class. So I say we transition into that. Let's discuss who it is, if we want them back, and if we realistically think they're going to be back.
Okay, let's start with the people that we're guaranteed to get back. Okay, because there's 3 kinds of free agents. There's ERFAs, RFAs, and UFAs. Okay, ERFAs. I can't remember what the E stands for, but restricted free agents. Restricted free agents.
Extra restricted free agents.
Whatever it is. They're like guaranteed to come back. It's just like we say yes, no, and if we say yes, they come back. Pretty straightforward. RFAs, in theory, could leave, but none of these guys are big enough names. They're all going to probably stay here. If we want them, they're staying. Okay. And then unrestricted free agents, we got nothing for them, right? They are complete street free agents, can go to the highest bidder. Nothing happens if they sign for somebody else outside of compensatory picks.
unless we pay them before we get to free agency.
Correct, which is an option. So the ERFAs are Kamal Haddon, Donovan Jennings, and Bo Melton,
Bo Melton.
which guarantees Bo's back, essentially, unless we don't want him, but there's no way we don't want him.
Yeah, Bo's back for sure.
The RFAs, so there's a potential they could leave, and we could put a tender on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that basically we get some draft compensation, whatever it is, if they get signed. But we have Zane Anderson. How do we feel about him?
Want him back.
I want him back
teamer.
too. Special
Absolutely.
teamer, and still, I mean, it's 2 years ago now, but showed that he wasn't a complete liability at the position when he had to play. Right.
Yeah, he's a cheap backup. He's perfect.
Correct. And in a time where we're not going to have a ton of assets, I'm good with just the safety room just being yep, we're good, don't touch it. Right.
Exactly.
Our boy Josh Wiley.
Yeah, he was fine. And again, it's just like, if we draft a tight end, sure, but that's not going to be high on our needs list. So he was fine. Bring him back. We loved throwing him in that like halfback counter at fullback lead. Like,
Yeah.
that was his play.
He was kind of our Josiah a little bit. So, yeah, I think the tight end room, as we'll get to in a second, is going to be interesting. But I think he's a good tight end 3-4, right? I think once Tuck's back, we're in good shape there. Jonathan Ford, you kind of already answered this one.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm good. We're letting him walk. Emmanuel Wilson.
It depends on how much we would have to pay him with the whole like free agent tender thing.
Yeah.
But I still love him. I think it's great. Marshawn Lloyd's not real. I wouldn't be surprised if we do grab another running back, either in the offseason or probably the draft or UDFA. But I need to have like a solid RB2. And I like Chris Brooks, but I do not want him to be RB2. Just in case something happens to Jacobs, like the offense will go dormant if it's Chris Brooks every single play.
What about Chris Brooks?
I still like him. I mean, again, I expect, right, that we're going to bring somebody in. So if you have someone with more upside, like you can just cut Chris Brooks, but he's a good third down pass blocker, personal protector. He can do a little something for you in the pass game on third down. He just doesn't have a lot of upside. But again, he's with Marshawn Lloyd and how we like continue to keep thinking he's going to come back and like mentally invest in that asset, right? Like we didn't add a running back at all in the offseason last year because we're not going to draft someone because, we have Josh Jacobs and we have Marshawn Lloyd, but Marshawn Lloyd doesn't really count. So if we do that bullshit again and really like aren't planning on picking somebody else up, please bring back Chris Brooks.
I think they're going to bring someone in. So I think one of Chris Brooks or Emmanuel Wilson walks. I think Emmanuel Wilson's going to be worth more potentially on the free agent market. So I'd almost bring back Chris Brooks, but if we bring back only Chris Brooks, I think we're guaranteeing bringing someone in through the draft, which I would like to do actually. So I think that's what I would do.
I'm there for it. I agree.
I'm excited when we get to draft time to look at a bunch of running backs. Darian Kennard, right tackle.
I'd bring him back. He's been good. He had a hell of a play against Chicago.
Yeah, I think I'm good with him coming back in kind of remaining that swing tackle, especially because, as we'll talk about, we're going to lose a tackle. So having him as the swing tackle is probably a good idea, given that we seem to have kind of settled in with Belton at right guard, probably. So I like that. I like bringing him back. He's still pretty young, so I think we could probably get him for a decent deal. Didn't start, so I'm good with him. Now these two, the running backs kind of gave you as a pair. I'm going to give these two as a pair. Brenton Cox and Aaron Mosby.
I would want Brenton Cox back. I've spoken several times in the show about the hot stretches that he's had, and he did look good coming back this season. It was only for a couple games, but he's great. Mosby, not really. I would expect that we can add a replacement body for special teams and to be like your last edge rusher, but I don't really have a strong opinion. I don't dislike him. I just think you can find better.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like him as a defensive end or edge, whatever. The problem being with Cox is he just doesn't play special teams. So it's hard to have Cox as the last edge if he doesn't play special teams at all. So
maybe we get rid of Mosby and bring in someone else.
I'm not sure we're going to have the space to.
Good counterpoint. Good counterpoint.
Just
Well, with
depth
Gary
chart
being
wise.
gone.
With
Gary being gone.
After we get through the free agents, we'll bring up the two big cut candidates, all right? And we'll talk.
Yes,
we'll
sir.
have our Gary conversation. So that's the restricted free agents. Now we're moving on to the unrestricted free agents, which are where things get a little bit more interesting, right? Because these are guys that, like we said, have no ties to us. We can try to extend them if we want to, or sign them before they hit free agency. But they can walk and go get a bigger contract somewhere else. This one's kind of obvious, but Trevon Diggs, since he's on the list.
Well, actually, we cut him, so he's
We
not even
did.
here anymore.
I know, but they don't really count that as far as like he was on the book, so he's technically an unrestricted free agent. Anyways, here's a big one. I think this is actually the biggest one on this list, potentially. Sean Ryan.
I thought he was good at center. It's going to be about how much does he want, but you're losing Rasheed Walker.
Yeah,
Right.
he's next on the list, so we can just say we assume we're getting rid of Rasheed or letting him walk. Jordan Morgan takes the left tackle spot.
Sean Ryan also has positional flexibility. Like if we get some stud center in the first 3 rounds, phenomenal, great. You can move him back to guard because I still think he's better than Aaron Banks, which we also lose assets for how much money he's taken up.
Mm-hmm.
So positional flexibility, he was solid. I mean, I think he's okay. What Zach Tom's our best lineman. Who's second? Not Elton at center.
No. Yeah, oh God. It's
I mean,
between
it's either
Banks,
Ryan-
Belton,
Ryan
and
or-
Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I would go Ryan, then Belton, then Banks. So I would
That's
want him
scary.
back.
Yeah.
It's just depending upon the price point.
I agree, and this is kind of also something that I think is important is having some sort of continuity on the offensive line, right? Seems to really make a big difference, and I think that once he settled in at center, Belton settled in at guard, things kind of calmed down, and the run game got a little bit better, right? The pass protection was decent. Like, I felt like they kind of settled in there. Were they great? Probably not. But the last thing I want to do is have to refill half this offensive line, right? Because Walker's going to leave. We're going to let him walk. Morgan goes to left tackle. Now all of a sudden we potentially need a center and a guard because we're going to talk about cut candidates. And Jenkins is a pretty big one, right? Like, what are we going to do there? So I'd bring him back. We've struggled to have consistency at the center position for a while now, right? Really since like Corey Linsley. Just let him settle in. He's still pretty young. I think we give him a contract, and then we'd kind of do our famous thing where we don't give him a third, let him walk when he's 30. You know, that's kind of our thing. I think that's what we do with Sean Ryan. That's what I would like to do with Sean Ryan. He played well, but it wasn't even a full season, so that should keep his cost low-ish, right? That's what I'd like to see. And it didn't really seem like there were a lot of issues as far as him playing center, right? We didn't have a ton of snap issues.
We lost the season when he got hurt.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. So
Like I point out to Bears fans, like you guys do not understand how significant that injury was. Not
It was
only
huge.
with like the 10-second runoff, but then wasn't the next play a shitty snap that
Yep.
like the play was broken and it was from,
at-
the 25-yard line.
it wasn't supposed to be the last play of the game, but it forced it to be the last play of the game because it was a broken play. It took too much time.
And in that type of play, it's like a first window throw.
Yeah.
Like you are not going to get somebody open by running around for 30 seconds in that situation
No.
because
And-
there's just too many defenders back there.
And everybody's just in the end zone. Just everybody on
Yeah.
both teams. Like, it's just not going to work. So, yeah, that injury absolutely crushed us. So, I'd like to bring him back. I think this is a pretty straightforward one. Romeo.
Yeah, I'm okay if he's gone. I mean, he was great at points, right? Dallas, never forget that playoff game. But I just feel like despite how well he has played, the other guys have more of an upside, and it's just like an obvious cap casualty. If you could pay him nothing, I'd love to have him back, but for what the price tag would need to be, there's just no way.
Completely agree. Like, right, he made $1 million basically last year. He's probably going to make 10, 15 on the open market. We can't do that, right? It's much more important for us to put that 10, 15 towards Sean Ryan or somebody like that, I think, which is probably what he's going to command, given that John Runyon Jr. not that long ago got like $10 million a year, and we got not great linemen going for between 10 and 20. I think Romeo's going to be in that same range. I think that we just can't spend the money there. Not with the talent we have behind him. We need to give more opportunities to Golden and, to a lesser extent, obviously Wicks, but Savion in year 2. Like, there's just people behind him that are going to need the football in order to grow, and we can't spend that money there, so I'm with you. We already talked about Rasheed Walker. He's gone, right? Like, there's no way. He played poorly this year, which kind of made that a really easy decision. I will say it is nice that we're complaining about how poorly he played as a starting left tackle as a 7th-round pick, right? People forget that. He already way outplayed his draft position. That was a phenomenal pick.
He was an incredible value and great. Like, I will look back upon him as like, yeah, he was a great Packer, but he's not coming back.
No, absolutely
I'm good
not.
that he's gone.
He's good. I mean, potentially, especially without the bad year, he's looking at 20. You know, we can't do that. Can't do it. Quay Walker. Man, I really wish we picked up his 5th-year option.
That was really dumb. I want him back. This is just a money thing. I know Hopper looked great, but I don't want to get that thin at linebacker, like having options, especially with Gannon's new scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could also see him wanting to put Quay in like the edge spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go 3-4, the 3 defensive tackles, and then Micah, and then Quay on the other side, like, I could see him killing it at that.
He's great as a pass rusher.
So I want him back. I love me some Quay Walker.
I want him back too, and I think that's another one of those positions where we have limited resources. I don't want us to downgrade and then try to have to chase something with our limited resources. Because, look, we're not going to have a lot of money, right? Cap went up more than they expected, which is good, but we're not going to have a lot of money. We don't have a ton of draft picks. We don't have very many at all of, like, the premium top 100 draft picks. We have 2, right? So the likelihood of getting a true impact player through the draft is less. We're probably only going to get a couple of them. Do we want to have to waste that capital or spend that capital at linebacker? I'd prefer not, right? As we're like safety, linebacker, we have enough holes to fill. I'd like if those 2 positions just kind of stayed exactly where they're at. I think they're good enough.
Agreed.
And you have potential in both those cases for future growth, right? Cooper should continue to get better. Quay, I still feel like, has some room to grow. Hopper's going to get better. McDuffie is what he is at this point, but he's a useful player. So those position groups just don't change anything. And let's run it back. That's my thoughts. Nick Neiman. We've talked about both Jameses now.
Bring him back. He's not great in one snap of pass coverage, but besides that, bring him back, special teamer.
What a bad position we put him in, by the way.
I know. First snap of the season. Fucking terrible. And I feel like his coverage wasn't that bad. Like, he was right on him.
Yeah. I when I saw who it was, I was like, well, obviously that's what was going to happen. 100%.
Wasn't he, like, isolated bottom of the screen? Was it Loveland?
Yeah.
Who's been on a heater? Like, ugh, no chance.
Absolutely no chance. Poor guy. All right, Malik Willis, we know, right? He's gone.
Next question.
Hopefully to Packers Southeast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, not for the Bills, but I think that's where he'll go.
Yeah, Miami. Let's go to let's have some fun in Miami.
Yeah, but then the Bills have to chase his ass twice a year. And
they have Jim Leonard.
He's a freak. Oh, they do have Jim Leonard. Spicy. All right, next one.
Kingsley and Ikbari.
Bring him back. He's always solid. It's going to be tight with money, but, like, I want him back. You can either say, like, him or Nessie is edge rusher 2 until Colin Oliver changes our lives.
Completely agree. I would love to have him back. He was more impactful than Rashawn Gary by far, right? He just seemed like the most clutch player on defense after Michael went out, right? Like, it felt like every close game he made some, like, crazy stuff at the line or tracked down for a tackle for loss or something. He made a big play. It felt like every game towards the end of the season. Now, he didn't have a ton of sacks or whatever, but I'd like to have him back. He seemed like a solid player with a couple flashes of impact here and there in clutch situations. I'd love to have him back. I believe he was our first ever correct draft pick selection. Was he not? By you, my friend.
Out of?
South Carolina.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Which was, odd because I always grew up rooting for Clemson, right? My family went to Clemson. You know this.
I do.
But Kingsley Unabari, he's been phenomenal. And yes, the first correct draft pick of our show.
Phenomenal job, my friend. And I'd love to have him back as edge rusher 2-3. I think that's a good spot to be, like you said, until Colin Oliver fully embraces his Micah Parsons-ness and takes the league by storm. But until then, let's have some Kingsley. And then finally, John Fitzpatrick, which I think is more interesting than you would believe otherwise.
Are you thinking he's going to get more money than people would expect on the open market?
No, I think that we can't rely on Musgrave, because I think Musgrave, while he showed up a little bit at the end of the year, we need another good tight end or solid tight end besides him. Besides obviously Tucker, but tight end 2-3 I think have to be decent, right? And Musgrave, cool, he's going to be on the team next year, I'm sure. But I think tight end 3 is a really important position on this team because they're asked to block. They're potentially asked to do a lot of that kind of like counter wham stuff that we saw Wiley do a ton of. Like, that's a pretty important position because we're not having Musgrave do it. Absolutely not, right? So, like, Fitzpatrick or Wiley, I think that's a real thing. That's a real decision to make.
We might keep 4 because of their special teams prowess.
Could. Yeah, we could.
I'd be happy with all 4. Also, Sean Duggan is now joining the Packers Southeast. Our linebackers coach is becoming the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins.
Of course,
we got
he is.
So much breaking news today.
So
amazing.
Much. Love it. Love it. We're breaking news podcast.
Walter Cronkite over here, baby.
But yeah, so there you go. That's our free agent class, and I think the two big ones that I think are both expecting to probably cut to make some of these decisions easier, but also create some holes. The two big potential cut candidates are Elton Jenkins and Rashawn Gary, which I would be fine letting both of them loose.
Yeah, when you mentioned Elton Jenkins earlier, I was trying to imagine the offensive line in my head.
With him around?
With him or without him. So let's just say without him, it goes what? Left tackle is
Jordan Morgan. Banks.
Left guard is Banks.
We have to wait
Center
probably
is
another
Ryan.
year to cut Banks. Just cap-wise.
Center is Ryan if we bring him back.
Yep.
Right guard is Belton. Right tackle is Tom.
I feel okay about that. It hinges on Jordan Morgan, but it all will.
It hinges on Jordan Morgan. So I guess if you bring Elton back, like how could you move things around? Like you could try Belton at tackle again if Jordan Morgan sucks ass. But I feel like with how much his contract
he'd be back
is,
at center, and we'd let Ryan go.
But he was so bad.
Ryan
at
was a
center.
better center.
He was so bad at center, and it was painful to see him like that. You know,
Yeah,
like there was a significant difference that we saw in the offensive line once he was out. So
100%.
I say let him go.
Agreed. Completely agree. Which sucks.
And Rashawn
but
Gary, that's done.
It
That's
better
over.
be. It better be. He makes
Even just
too much
for,
money.
bro, even just for like the roster gymnastics. When we were talking before the Bears game, that I was genuinely upset. I was like, I would rather have that open spot on the roster, on the game day roster, for Colin Oliver than for Rashawn Gary. And I don't think that was a hot take because Gary did not do shit for the last 2 months of the season.
Literally, like,
I mean, there's that.
the last half of the season, I don't think he had a single sack. And he was our starting starting edge rusher.
This may not be fair, but there's just that image of,
Yep.
I think him and Parsons chasing down. It's like
And
Goff.
he was the close edge. Michael was the far.
And a part of that imagery is just like that Micah Parsons is, I don't know, the best edge rusher in the NFL. So no one's going to look great compared to him, but just the effort. I know people say it's difficult to judge speed on the NFL field. Like everyone's moving so much faster than we think they are. But no, that wasn't. I thought it was Rashawn Gary, not Dean Lowry out there, but they looked very similar. Similar speed.
Dean Lowry might have been more impactful the second half of the season,
Dean Lowry
honestly.
might have been.
And
He could have given us a sack or two.
I think he would have lucked into one, you know?
He always lucked into sacks.
He did. As a starting edge rusher, I think you just luck into one every once in a while, right? I think Nessie looked pretty good to end the year. I know a lot of people, 'cause fifth-year option coming up on him. I think a lot of people were disappointed, which I get, but he was impactful once he came back from injury the last time. He made impact plays, so I feel pretty good about him and hopefully Bari competing for that 2 spot, and then Micah at the 1. I feel good about that without Gary. And we're going to have a lot more hustle because we know Sorrell and Oliver are hungry, and they're going to hustle, if nothing else.
Sorrell looked really good.
He looked really good.
Really good.
And then Kyle and Oliver in the one game, but against starters, showed that some of that pop and explosion did translate with essentially no practice all year. So that was really good to see. A lot of potential there. So I'd rather just move on from Gary, let the young guys kind of work into it, and maybe you draft somebody in the middle of the draft this year and see what happens.
Feels like we agreed on pretty much all these transactions.
I think we did, yeah.
So the next big milestone will be going into, assuming we don't fire another coach, which unfortunately isn't probably going to happen.
No, probably would have by now.
But the next big milestone will be free agency. So with discussions that we've had today, going into both free agency and the draft, you can order them if you want, but like when I say needs, when I say like either big money free agents or high draft capital, where is your head at?
Defensive tackle and corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think if we don't bring back Quay,
then linebackers really up there.
Linebacker
because I
third.
am not comfortable with Cooper, McDuffie, and Hopper. That I feel uneasy about that. Unless Hopper's phenomenal. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
He did have a pick this year, my boy.
He did.
Against the Bears. Incredible. Hop daddy, baby.
Loved it, but that makes me so uncomfortable. So I'd agree with that, but I think corner, we got to do something about that room. It's just not good enough. I do think Hobbs, now he's more nickel, but I think Hobbs will be better next year. I really do, assuming he doesn't get hit with the injury bug again. So that'll be good. But between Valentine and Nixon, man, we got to do something. And we just don't have the beef in the middle. We saw that this year, right? Devontae will be back, Devontae Wyatt, which is great. But we're still missing a lot of heft in there. So I'd want to throw a resource there as well. And also Devontae now getting a little bit up there in age. He'll be on his 5th-year option next year. Last year under contract with us, making a pile of money. He's almost 30 already. Like, we also got to start thinking about who's Devontae Wyatt after Devontae Wyatt.
Colby Wood needs to put on 30 pounds again this offseason.
To be up to like 330, 340.
I'm here for it. If Carl wants to do that too, that'd be great.
I think Carl, I love Carl, right? We both love Carl.
But
man, he did not do anything in the backup Devontae Wyatt role, which was tough. So I think we need a little bit more juice in that room and beef. I think we could use either one would make me feel better about life.
Something. Somebody do something, please.
Correct. Because we need some sort of push from the middle, and we need to be able to stop the run in the middle. So we need something to happen there, and the cornerback room just is not good enough. And cover 4, if we play a lot of cover 4, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be super interesting how the corners react to that. So I'm not sure we necessarily have the personnel for that from a cornerback perspective, so we'll have to figure something out. But those are my 2 positions. I assume you're probably with me plus the linebacker, right?
Yeah, at least for the top needs. I mean, maybe if you get a good interior lineman just for backup, that's probably
I agree.
a 4 or 5
just
round
always
pick.
take a offensive lineman. Take one every year because occasionally there'll be David Bakhtiari or even Rasheed Walker, right? And that it's important that you do that so you don't have to go sign Aaron Banks to 20-some million a year.
Take whatever running back that me and you predict that they take because they're going to be a god.
100%.
What was that list? It was like, so we had Bill, Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Wright. I mean, that's a nice trio.
That is.
We did real good. So take whoever we take in our mock.
Correct. Take that running back. Because we do need a running back. That's also a little bit of a long-term thing as well, right? We've had Jacobs for 2 years. You know, we're not going to have him for 2 contracts, I don't think. So we're going to need to kind of have somebody that can take some of the load off him And because Marshawn Lloyd does not exist, we still need a little bit of electricity in that backfield that we don't really have currently.
And just like a true number 2.
Yeah. Like Emmanuel Wilson
we love
can
Emmanuel
do it.
Wilson. You just feel like we can get more. Like there can be more pop and more upside.
100%.
And I love Emmanuel Wilson, but let me see somebody else. Little free agent, late round draft pick.
And let Emmanuel
Do
Wilson
something,
go
please.
get a decent little contract for himself, to go compete in a really bad running back room. Like, I'm all for that because we don't really need him here. Like, we can
Emmanuel
upgrade.
Wilson and Malik both go. Emmanuel Wilson, Malik, Romeo Dobbs.
I'm all for it, honestly.
all go to Miami.
I am all for it. Make it happen. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson would be running back like 2 or 3 or 4 in that room with Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon. And obviously,
I think
Devon
whatever offense you're going to use, like if you're picking up Malik, you better be doing some like Ravens like
You have to.
pistol power read.
100%.
You have to. He's too good not to.
100%.
All right. Well, I think we're on the same page for our needs.
I think so.
And despite the topic that we had to briefly cover today, I think we had a good session, my friend.
I would agree. It was nice to talk Packers again, and I think we were finally far enough removed, and we watched the Bears lose, which helped to kind of start moving on a little bit and looking into what the future holds for this Green Bay Packers team.
Hopefully a different movie. Hopefully not Titanic.
Hopefully.
All right, buddy. Until next time, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.